Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session, Bridging the Technology Gap, AI-powered revenue management for independent hotels in emerging markets. My name is Peeravid Srisukson, Investment Manager at SCB 10X. Today, I'm happy to be joined by Kun Apichai Sakulsureeyadej, the CEO and founder of Radiant One. สวัสดีครับคุณอภิชัย and thank you
สวัสดี
for
ครับ
joining our AI Evolution 2025. To start, I think it would be great if you could introduce yourself and Radiant One to the audience. Can you please tell us about your background? What led you to start Radiant One and what is a Radiant One solution?
สวัสดีครับคุณปันครับ Glad to be here. Hello, everybody. So I spent the first 15, 16 years of my career building a different company. I bootstrapped that and built it myself as a single founder. That company did big data solutions. My clients were like the central bank, Bank of Thailand, Thai Airways. We did projects for the anti-money laundering office, and large clients like the SEC, SET. I took that company public, so I did an IPO in 2016. And by 2018, I was on my way towards an exit. When I had come out of that, I came back to the family business, where we own hotels in Bangkok. And because I had built a business and taken it public, a big data company as such, and one of the first in Thailand specializing in big data, my specialization at work is looking at data in various ways that probably normal people don't look at. I know how to slice and dice it and look at it from so many different angles. When I joined and came to help the family, I asked a lot of questions. Tech people do that. We fill gaps, and in order to fill gaps, we draw flowcharts and we try to understand what's going on. My questions were, as you can imagine, a lot around the use of data in hotels. And very quickly, I realized that there was little to none of the real use of data, at least in my definition of what I would call the use of data. It was really very minimal and alarmingly scary of how decisions were made based on gut feeling. So some of my team members from my previous firm had followed me, and I talked to them about this gap that I found. And so we started playing around with data, and I managed to make a lot more money for my family. And I'm a curious person, so I deployed a few people in the industry to check around whether the pain point was the same. And I quickly realized that most of the industry wasn't effectively using the data they had. In fact, most of them didn't even know how much of it they have with them and how to transform that to use. So we ran a lot of experiments. This was pre-COVID, and we successfully made more money for all of them. At the onset of COVID, I had to make a decision whether, like most other travel companies that would close down, nobody was leaving the house. And it was a very difficult decision for someone who had just started and found a gap in the travel industry. What do you do when you don't know how long this will last? And it's easy to talk about today, but those days when you're stuck at home, knowing not knowing when the end of this will be, it's difficult to figure out what to do with this business. But my gut feeling told me that people are made to move, travel will come back. So I pursued, and I was lucky to be right, because travel really bounced back very well at the end of COVID. And since then, we've grown successfully, and and the rest is all history.
So thank you, Apichai, and that's a great story that you went through the COVID and building a new business. And it's really helped us to understand why this topic is so important to you. So now let's talk about our main topic. So today we're going to talk about the old challenges, how AI can help us now, and what's next for the future of hospitality business. We know some hotels that use AI see an estimated 15% to 20% increase in revenue, while the general market has a very slow growth. So there's a clear gap of using AI technology. So let's start with the basic. You mentioned that hotels traditionally underutilize the data. From your experience in the hotel family and in big data, what are the main gaps you see between how hotels think they use data and how they really make decisions?
It's a good question. I'm going to try and start and answer it with an analogy. Let's think of Google Maps. When we're going to go somewhere, we're plugging in a destination, and Google Maps will tell us not just how much time it will take, but what is the fastest route to get there. And sometimes it gives us alternatives. Yes, there may be a margin of error, 5%, 10%. That's okay. But in principle, it's usually quite right. I rely on it to even get to flights on time. Let's roll back several years before Google Maps was widely used. And people used to, if you don't know where to go, you would use a directory of a map, open up a book, or buy a map somewhere. Or if you know where you're going, but you don't have Google Maps, you'll take the road that you always take. So hotels have moved from using that paper book to doing what and how they know what to do every day. They're very operational. So I equate them to driving to their destination without Google Maps, and they know the road, but they just don't know whether that's the fastest one will get them there on time. Are they spending more money on petrol? But they know that this is the road, and they'll eventually get there. In the day of AI, let's just talk about data. Forget the word AI for now, because everyone talks AI, but there's different meanings to AI. Let's talk about the use of data. Again, maps are a collection of data, how many people are traveling in a certain place put together, and it provides you with directions and destinations and targets. What you see is an outcome. It's pretty magical. But what's powered behind a map, a Google map, is how many people are on the road, how many people have their phones. That's how they trap their data. With hotels, back to my analogy, yes, they're still driving their business in the same way they did years ago. But with technology and data today, you can get to your goals much faster in a more effective way. What does that really mean? If you can get from point A to point B faster, that means you've got more time to do other things. Let's go back to the road analogy. If you're going to the airport and you make it there before time, you've got time left to do other things like shopping, eating, other things, right? Same thing in business. If you can get to your target and make money before the end of the month, you can actually optimize and do better than target every month. And technology, just like maps, right? AI is a different set. Big data is a different set for hotels put together so that you'll reach your target much faster in a more consistent way so that you have time remaining to do strategy, long-term goals, firefighting and other places where you actually probably never had the time previously because you just traveled on the same road all the time, or you worked in the same fashion throughout the years. Post-COVID, when I visited hotels, and even when I do today, because I visit a lot of them still compare their revenue to 2018. And to me, if you're comparing how you work to a period of time 7 years ago, something's really wrong. Banks, for example, have gone cashless, QR codes, tap. Other industries have progressed. We can get on a plane without interacting much with people. Download boarding passes, scan, get to the gates. We can get on a plane much faster. But we can't do that in hotels. And the back end of hotels is even more outdated, even more traditional. And what worries me is people don't know where to start. And that's why I think the coming of data put together that is easy to use and automated, which is essentially what AI is all about. Growing that data set really fast, automating all of it, putting to use, and really learning from it automatically. That's what AI is. And I think that is the only hope to take hotels from how they function today to become more profitable, to fight the rising costs out there, to grab the attention of the buyers, of the travelers. So that's where I think the industry stands, and that's why we're here.
I love the analogy of Google Maps that makes audience understand clearly and understand the problem that we're having right now. So it sounds like many hotels are missing a big opportunity now. So this brings me to another number. So I researched a lot of numbers. So I found that revenue per available room growth is projected at 1.2% for 2024. But hotels using AI reported 17% revenue increase. So the question is, what is stopping more hotels from making this change, especially in Southeast Asia market that Radiant One is now focusing on?
It's another very good observation, Kumban, that you've made. And thank you for doing the homework actually on behalf of the industry. A room rate growing at 1.2% per year, you said, right? Annually?
Yeah.
1.2% per year. Can you imagine the rise of costs per year? That's going to outbeat the incremental room rate. Not even talking about where the occupancy starts, right? Where it stands. So hotels are facing a crisis. No matter what we say, travel is so big, people are traveling, airports are expanding, whatever numbers are reported with people crossing borders, hotels are facing a crisis. Supply is huge, new entrants coming in every month, and the demand is not climbing as fast as it should. There's a turmoil going on somewhere in the world economy. There's a shift, there are wars, lots of factors that affect consumption and travel. 1.2% means declining net profit. And that's a big worry. And the worry, as I mentioned earlier in the previous question, is if they do nothing, this will compound. This will not just increase, but it will compound. And I suspect this will drive a lot of hotels out of business. Unless the owners are traditionally rich from somewhere else, they would have to keep pumping more money into it, or at best try and sustain it for a break even. I'm not saying this is the case for every hotel. Some have it organized better, and some have it not. And the organized better are the ones that understand how to bring technology, how to distribute better, how to show up for people to select them, and be able to fight that power of the online players that are pressuring them all the time. All this requires data. All this requires people who understand data. For example, you must always understand what demand looks like in the next 90, 180 days. For every hotel to optimize its revenue, you must know, where do you get this number from? You can see it from a variety of sources, but they mean nothing if you don't know how to interpret it further. And you can go and buy data and say this is the demand, but that doesn't really mean much unless you know how to put it into practice for your rates, for your operations, for how you look at costing and so forth. I hope that helps answer the question.
Yeah, pretty much yes. And so let's focus on Southeast Asia market, which we are now, and Radiant One is also trying to grow in this region as well. So, questions to you: what are some unique challenges for hotel industry in Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia that are different from Western markets that you have been observing?
Yeah, I think I will say two things are of major concern. Now that I am in the field and talking to hotels, the first one is solvable, but it's still not moving fast enough, is people's mindsets. Back to the analogy of the map versus Google Map versus no Google Map. If I don't use Google Map, but I know how to get to the airport, I'll drive on the same road every time I go there. It doesn't matter if it's faster, slower, because that's all I know. But if I know how to use the map, it'll tell me the fastest way to get there. AI and data is the same for hotels. If you know how to use technology, you'll get to your targets a lot faster. It takes a bit of learning, takes a bit of opening up, it takes a bit of decision making, but you can get there. I find that the Southeast Asian operators, business owners, are less comfortable with taking decisions where they're trying out something new, unless it's a wave of technology coming from the West, forcing them to do it. So when it comes to optimizing and doing things better versus let me get the operations done first, they will always usually focus on let's just do the operations part and let people drive whatever optimizations. They're very people-centric and less aware about the benefits of getting things started in the road of AI. They want to, they hear about it, they're very eager, they ask the right questions. But when it comes to decision making, it falls back to people. And automation is something we don't look at very seriously because there's nothing really pushing us. Labor is cheaper than the West. It's still comfortable. The textbooks are still from the past. Who's pushing them to do better? And there's always a trust issue in business. The other problem I see in Southeast Asia is the vendors of the legacy systems, so the check-in, check-out systems in the backends. These are very fragmented, small systems that the hotels have bought years ago. And these systems aren't really future ready. They're not ready to integrate and send out clean data. Even if you can integrate with them, data is often not of much high quality. And it takes a lot of pain to work with them because they're also very busy selling to new hotels who want to buy cheaper products rather than invest in good brands that have standardized data exchange. So exchanging data becomes quite problematic. We've invested a lot in how to clean and validate data, but I can go on and on, for days telling you how hotels have bad data, even in their prime legacy backend system. Because this data is coming from a variety of sources, being keyed in wrongly, being ingested wrongly. And then when they send it to us, we have to clean it before doing anything with AI. So if you're a hotel or any business as such thinking about an AI strategy, you have to first think about the quality of your data. You need a partner that will understand your data and clean your data over just tools.
Thank you for explaining the market challenges. Now let's talk about the technology. So I think many people want to know how Radiant One really works. So can you go through your data cleaning and AI systems And how does it process like real-time data to adjust the price strategies? And what types of data sources are the most critical for accurate demand forecasting in the hotel business?
Yeah, lots of good questions there. So um, I'm going to maybe start with what we do, and then I'll break it down into how we do it. What we do essentially is we take data from many, many sources, the hotel's own data, the market's data, competition. It's looking at a variety of factors, and every hotel is different. Even if you're next to each other, the room types, the amount, the size of the rooms, the quantity of rooms, the outlets, the facilities, there is never an apple to apple. So it becomes very interesting. But what we do is we take data from so many different sources, we ingest it into our platform, and essentially we deploy AI agents that help do a variety of functions. For example, suggest pricing is the easiest to understand. Most of you buy airline tickets. You look at a price today, tomorrow it changes, prices have gone up. There's a lot of algorithm going on behind that. It's demand supply, it's cabin factor. Hotels is the same. It's demand supply. It's perishable goods. So every night the rooms, you can't resell them tomorrow because tonight's tonight. Same with airline. Once a plane takes off, you can't sell that seat again. So the concept's very similar, but it's only one part of it. Once we have all the data, we simply, it's complicated, but the best way to work is take a lot of complex algorithms and simplify it so that it's easy to use. One other part that's effective is how you distribute your rooms. Where are you sold? And if you're selling a product, a physical product today, you'll show up on Lazada, Shopee, Alibaba. You have all these channels, supermarket, department stores. But for hotels, you have the online travel agents, and then you have the offline travel agents. You have the wholesalers, and you have corporate markets, and you have government, and you have different areas that dictate different type of pricing in different periods of time. In fact, in each of those, even the nationality visiting a hotel is different every month. Sometimes it's a festive season somewhere else. They're flying in. Sometimes it's a local long weekend. And we also have to look at high season, low season, who's ready to pay how much, what value adds can we put in. So again, combining all of these things, looking 90 days, 180 days ahead, competing in the market with so much supply, you can start imagining the amount of data that a human might have to look at. And I think it's become almost impossible to look at everything. But if you don't, you get left out because things change so fast. People consume things on the internet very different now to how they did years ago. People make decisions very differently. So we have to keep up, but the exponential data is exploding. So we take all that data and we really simplify decision making. In fact, we automate all of it. The second part that we do really well is we monitor the business. We don't monitor data. We monitor the business, not just goals and outcomes. But as they say, it's stepping stones towards the goal. So we look at so many different combinations of situations and factors at every point of time in an automated way that it kind of safeguards how a user would be running their business. So if you're an owner, you can really be at peace that Radiant One's tech is taking control of the market out there, the situation, your competitive advantage, your reviews, your rates, all of them are being looked at all the time. While you're asleep, while you're awake, while you're traveling, this is working for you. The robots behind it, the AI behind it is working nonstop for you all the time and reported back to you in real time. So I think that is a value add. So there's a couple of areas that I can explain very clearly. This frees up. So there's two parts. The first part was pricing. We do pricing really well. All our clients, and we have so many testimonials, are making 20 to 40% more than ever. And that's a statement we have testimonials on. But on the other hand, they're also freeing up time. Now they can think about strategy to do other things, like understanding their clients. Now they're starting to understand different countries coming in every month, every week, and starting to position their hotels differently. It's no more cookie cutter. The world in the future is all about hyper personalization. But hotels aren't there yet. They need time to understand that. And we free up that time and we take them on that journey. It's really a very affordable partnership. We don't even think we sell them a platform. We never go in as a platform like a SaaS vendor. We go in as a partner because it's really, we think of ourselves as outcome as a service or growth as a service. We go everywhere from looking at their data, cleaning it up. We know hotels have other things to do. They have to take care of the guests. They should be on the floor. They shouldn't be cleaning data, doing Excel work, decision making, pricing. That's not, hotels are high touch business. They should be out there understanding the client and keeping them happy. Everything else can be automated and logged and tracked and monitored and machine learned and automatically improved all the time. So that's what we do for a very, very reasonable price where the hotels really, I can't even tell you how many X of return they get, partnering with us.
That fascinating approach and traction that you can make for hotels. So I want to make this practical for hotel leaders listening today. So for leaders who are thinking about using AI in their hotel operations, what are the key metrics they should track to measure the success beyond just higher room rate and higher occupancy by using AI?
So yes, you're right. There's a myth about rates and occupancies. The real metric is revenue. Really, you've got to make more money than you ever did. And the truth is, there is room to do that. That's the truth. I'm not saying it. Research says it. There's billions of dollars that people can make more in Thailand alone. And I'm seeing it in action. So people have got to really look into how revenue turns out at each month. And that's really a combination of who's coming, what are they willing to pay for, will they go to the next person or not, what's different about your property and offering. In fact, I believe people who come to hotels, a large chunk of them are looking for an experience if they're tourists. If they're business people, they're looking for comfort and safety. Different people look for different things, different nationalities, type of travelers. A solo female may be looking differently to a group, and so forth. The examples keep going out, and from different countries, from different channels. You really need to put this into perspective to understand how you're going to figure this out. It's not rocket science, so it's not like it's never been done before. It's being done. But the answer really lies in your own data. You need to understand your business in a much, much better way. You need to also keep up with the landscape out there. To me, the landscape is less important if you don't even know your own business. And that really comes down to understanding the data that is sitting in your legacy. Is it clean? Is it good? Does it give you insights? And what action are you taking from it? Right? So step one would to even understand your data. And if you don't, or you want to have a partner, call us.
Okay, so we have 1 minute left. I think we just left for the last question. So how can hospitality leaders connect with your team to explore your data solution and AI-powered revenue management solutions? Can you just briefly leave the contact and how people can get to contact with you?
So you can always email in. It's contact, contact, at radiant1.co, not .com, but .co. The Thailand number is 258-5060 to the office. My email is apichai@radian1.co. You can feel free to contact me. We'll be happy to take you on a journey and study your property and see how we can help you through this revenue journey.
That's great. So as we come to the end of our session, I would like to thank you, Kun Apichai, for sharing your time and your great ideas and insights with us. It's been an absolutely fascinating discussion with you, and hopefully we get you to come back next year. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, Kunpan. Thank you very much.